Hello everybody, and after 10 month or so hiatus, we're finally back with another Warhammer 40,000 8th edition battle report, now that my little puppy has grown up. There she goes. She's still camera shy, and she wants to play constantly. But still, we're back. We're going to take a look at the armies in a second here. Table in a new position in the house as well to allow easier access to all sides of it, hopefully. And we'll see what's happening in a second. On a Christmas themed tray, because I'm recording this not too long before Christmas, we have a largely but not entirely Primaris Ultramarines list. The original version of this list was led by the Captain in the Gravis armor, however, Chapter Approved came out, so we redid the point values for both lists. It led to having a lot more room for more things, so to celebrate his release we have the new Marnes Calgar model. Sadly not painted, it's literally just been put together, the glue is still probably not dry. Also didn't have enough room for his bodyguards, but we're going to try him and see how he does on the field. Other than him, he is being joined by two Primaris Lieutenants, a Primaris Ancient, and he is taking the banner, the extra banner war gear, but I've forgotten what it's called. Banner of the Armour Ascendant or something like that. Troop choices: 2 Intercessor Primaris squads, 5 man. This squad has the Stalker Bolter rifles, this has the normal bolter rifles. This is where most of the points were saved. In Chapter Approved, the Centurion Devastators came down in price massively. They're equipped with the Grav Amps, Grav Cannons. I don't think they had enough points for the missile launchers, so it'll be the Hurricane Bolters. Oh, we also have a Scout Squad just to make sure that we can do a battalion detachment for command points, because I'm going to try using command points this time. They're all equipped with sniper rifles, tail lane's just there to indicate the sergeant. Hellblasters, maybe a bit of a mistake, but they're using the heavy plasma versions of themselves. Makes them stronger, but they're heavy, so they can't really move and fire very well. Sadly, another not finished painting, just based. Redemptor Dreadnought, Plasma Incinerator, Onslaught Gatling Cannon under this hand, 2 Storm Bolters, Icarus Launcher. Very much looking forward to trying this, although it is gigantic. And finally at the back, 2 As They Come Primaris Inceptor squads who will be jumping down into battle at some point. And that is, if I can check the list behind me, hang on. That is, with the Chapter Approved points, 1487. I may have forgotten to mention a thing or two. But that's it for the Primaris Ultramarines. Let's take a look at the Death Guard. And on this tray we have, I believe, 1500 points on the dot of Death Guard, featuring some new stuff that's been painted since the long hiatus. The army is being led by a Malignant Plague Caster. He has the 2 buffing spells, Miasma Pestilence and Putrescent Vitality, I think it is. This is also a battalion as well, I should have pointed out, which means a minimum of 3 HQs. The other HQs, Demon Prince of Nurgle. Demon Prince of Nurgle, I know it's the old Greater Unclean One model, but it's so tiny compared to the actual one now. Just going to count them both as Demon Princes. They both have the swords, they both have Plague Spears, which are a new thing they can take to give them a small ranged attack based on FAQ. They also have some point values changed. They have wings, although when it's Nurgle they just float around on gas. And this one in particular has the Suppurating Plate, which makes his save better, and he can reflect wounds in close combat. They also both have the Plague Wind power along with just the standard smite they have to take. We have a plague, not a Plague Drone, I always forget what this is called. Let's do the other things first. Hellbrute, Stock, Melter Gun, Fist. Malefic Blight Hauler, Stock, Melter Gun, Missile Launcher. A Rhino. Troop choices, a bit cluttered. We have 20 Poxwalkers mixed in there. We have 2 7-man Plague Marine squads. Sadly, one of them are using the old versions of the Plague Marines because it was that or use unpainted, so I opted to use painted. But no upgrades as stock, I think. Maybe one squad had a plasma gun. Whichever squad did have the special weapon will be going in the Rhino. The Rhino just has 1 combi bolter on it, nothing else. Then we also have Plague Burst Crawler, with the 2 upgrades, so the Entropic Cannons and the Rat Hail Volley Gun, other than the big cannon itself on the back. What are you called again? Fed Bolt Drone, that's the one. And it's got the 2 Plague Spears. So it should be 1500 points on the dot for Death Guard. And we're going to be doing kind of like a winner stays on army thing here. So whichever army wins here today, they're going to stay on and face someone else. and we'll just kind of tier it like that. Alright, we're going to set up, see what the mission is, etc., and then be right back. So here we are with choices. Opted to do Vanguard Strike, number 6. Bit of a shine there, sorry, but that's 12 inches back from the centre, and then a diagonal line for deployment for each side. Random the mission, got no mercy, which is a nice basic one. It's just kill each other until you're dead. Bonus victory conditions for killing the leader of the opponents. So for Space Marines, that's Marneus Calgar. For the Death Guard, that is the Psyker. First Blood, bonus point for being the first person to wipe out a unit. Linebreaker, having a unit in your enemy's deployment zone, which again is 12 inches back from the centre in a diagonal line. So, here is how the Space Marines have deployed. Intercessor, Redemptor, one of the Lieutenants, Devastator Centurions, Marneus Calgar, the banner Primaris guy. The relic he took gives him an even better chance of making Space Marines who die within a bubble of him do a shot or an attack before being removed from the table. Sniper Scouts, the Hell Blasters with the other Lieutenant there, and these are the Stalker Bolter pattern Intercessors on the side here. Also, command points, since that's what I'm trying to do now. For being Battle Forged, you get 3 standard, a battalion gives 5 bonus, Marneus Calgar gives 2 bonus, so the Ultramarines have 10. And here's the Death Guard side of the table. They've spread themselves out a little bit more across their deployment than the Ultramarines have. Blade Burst Crawler at the back, Demon Prince with the Suppurating Plate, Hellbrute, the Hauler, the 7-man Plague Marine squad, 20-man Poxwalker squad with the HQ Malignant Playcaster behind them, Block Drone, the other Demon Prince who does not have the Suppurating Plate, Rhino with the older Plague Marine squad inside, and as standard, can't really see because of my shadow, 3 for being Battle Forged, 5 for being a battalion as far as command points. Ultramarines finished setting up first, and they have opted, since they're doing kind of like a weird Tau-like gun line strategy here, with a lot of buffing bubbles from Marneus and the Lieutenants, to get the Death Guard to go first. So there's no roll-off or anything like that. In reserves, the 2 Interceptor squads rather. Inceptor, Interceptor, they're so close. So, we'll be back with Death Guard turn 1. End of Death Guard turn 1. First of all, an amendment to the list because a model had fallen off the tray. Didn't notice. There was meant to be the bell guy. I've forgotten what he was called, but he's there to make everything advance better. Totally forgot. He'd fallen off the tray. Luckily Sora didn't eat it. It's on the board now, however. Everything's fine. It still would have turned out the same way with the Ultramarines having choice of who goes first. So anyway, the Death Guard did what the Death Guard do, which is very slowly advance, mostly, up the table to get close to close combat. Pretty much everything here moved as you can see. Blade Burst Crawler did do some firing, although a lot of line of sight obscuring things, not blocking but obscuring, as did the Blight Hauler, but we'll cover that in a second. Zombies advanced as far as they could. Playcaster in amongst them, as is the Bell Dude. Over here the Rhino moved up, popped smoke to give it -1 to anything hitting it next turn. The Drone and one of the Demon Princes following close enough behind it that it's still the closest target to try and force people hitting them. Well, the Drone can be targeted, but the Demon Prince can't. As far as damage, they didn't get to do very much because they were mostly poorly advancing because they're so slow. The Malefic Blight Hauler, shot from all the way down the table, managed to get a wound with its missile launcher on one of the Devastator Centurions. It's got 2 wounds left. The mortar and the 2 entropic cannons with -1 to hit because of because of moving, and then +1 to saves because of being in cover, still managed to kill 2 of this Intercessor squad, the ones with the Stalker Bolters. They're out of range to do like the one last push of strength to take a shot before they die. But they pass morale, so they're fine, and that covers everything. Now we're going to move on to Ultramarines turn 1. Quick addendum, Psychic Powers. Both Psychic Powers went off from the Malignant Playcaster. Had to use 1 command point to ensure a success of it, but now the Poxwalkers have -1 to hit, and their Strength and Toughness is +1 until the next turn. At the end of Ultramarines turn 1, most of the army stood still because they're in a firing position and want to take advantage of it. Really the only people that moved, Marneus moved a little bit, the Redemptor Dreadnought moved, shimmied along. One of the Intercessor squads shimmied along beside, as did the Lieutenant behind them to give them both the buffs. Despite the smoke launchers being popped, they mostly fired, like the Intercessors and everything on the Redemptor, fired into the Rhino. The smoke helped a bunch though. It did lose half its wounds, it's down to 5 remaining, so it is also working with less stats now as well. But it survived. Smoke launchers are wear off now though. The Hellblasters, just the Hellblasters in fact, and the Stalker Bolter Intercessors on the far side of the table there, shot into the Plague Zombies, by which I mean Poxwalkers, sorry Games Workshop. They managed to kill 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, but they don't flee because they're mindless zombies. So 6 of them are dead. The snipers opted to take a bit of a gamble, and because they're using snipers they can target a character even if it's not the closest target. They opted to shoot into the Malignant Plaguecaster, and they got a couple of 6s to wound, which are mortal wounds on top of normal damage. He does have Revoltingly Resilient though, which improves his Disgustingly Resilient roll by 1 against anything except a mortal wound. Gave him 2 wounds, he's got 2 left. So all of a sudden, the HQ of the Death Guard is in trouble. That's really the only major damage they did though, and now the Death Guard are going to hit back at the top of turn 2. End of Death Guard turn 2, the slow advance continues with most things moving up over this end of the table there. The Poxwalkers advanced, thanks to the Bell guy, whose name I've just refused to memorise apparently. You roll 3 for advance and pick the highest, so they got 6 this time, so they managed to move up quite a lot to continue trying to be a bullet sponge. The Malignant Plaguecaster was going to retreat, but given that the Inceptors are coming down either next turn or soon, opted just to move forwards, cast both Psychic Powers to buff his Strength and Toughness by 1 and give -1 to hit for anyone shooting him to try and make sure he survives. Bell guy is there to try and be the closest target in case the Inceptors drop here, to hopefully give him some ablative wounds. Over here, everything moved up. The Rhino can't move very much at all because it's at half wounds, but it moved up. The Plague Marines inside. Thankfully, because they're the smaller Plague Marines on the small bases, they could all kind of just shimmy around there. In the Psyche phase also, both Demon Princes used Smite. This Demon Prince on the Redemptor, put it down to 10 wounds, 9 and 1. And to save me going over the other side of the table, that Plague Marine, by which I mean Demon Prince, used Smite on the Inceptors, murdered 2 of them. The survivor passed his morale, but he was very close to giving up first blood. Shooting the Plague Burst Crawler tried to take out the last Intercessor over there, failed miserably. The Hauler down here, did I just say Hauler twice? Crawler, Hauler. He shot his multi-mire into the Scouts and missed. He shot his Crack Missile into the Centurions and also missed. And then finally over here, Plague Spears were slightly out of range. I forgot that they were 9 inches, not 12, so they didn't do much. The Plague Marines shot into the Intercessors and did 1 wound on him, so they are almost into the deployment zone of the Ultramarines for Linebreaker. Still no first blood though, as we move on to turn 2 for the Ultramarines. Addendum again, because we keep forgetting to mention it because it's new to us using command points here. During the casting, the Malignant Plaguecaster did perils, used a command point reroll in order to avoid the perils and get the spell off. We have been using them a little bit without mentioning it because just keep forgetting. The Death Guard are down to 6 command points remaining. The Ultramarines have only used 1 point so far. End of Ultramarines turn 2 and things have started getting bloody finally. Both Inceptor squads jumped in, and this squad first of all opened fire on Bell Guy. Got him down to 2 wounds, sadly couldn't finish him off. Had to use the other squad, which managed to get exactly 2 wounds through, killing him, which I believe was the first full unit to die. Took a while. So he is dead. The Scouts fired over at the HQ for the Death Guard again, managed to get another mortal wound through, so he's down to 1, making casting Psychic Powers more dangerous now. He could end up exploding himself. Over here, everything on this side of the table continued shuffling a little bit to the left, including the Centurion Devastators, Marneus Helgar, the Dreadnought, and the Intercessors. If you look over here, a lot happened. Intercessors first of all opened up fire on the Plague Marines, I believe killed 2 of them. Then the Centurion Devastators fired the Hurricane Bolters at the Plague Marines, didn't do anything, fired the Grav Amps at the Rhino, took out its 5 remaining wounds, it exploded, killing another Plague Marine. They passed morale, exactly in what they needed. Did 1 wound to the Demon Prince, did 1 wound to the Bloat Drone. This also then let Marneus fire at the Demon Prince, didn't do anything sadly. Redemptor unleashed his fury of all his guns on the Demon Prince. The Demon Prince has 3 wounds remaining. He then tried a risky charge. It was an 8-inch charge, that distance there to there. He rolled a 6 and a 2, used a command point to reroll the 2 became a 1. Sorry, I mean a 6. 6 and a 1, it rerolled and became a 1, still 1 inch away, so couldn't do the charge. As far as other movement, the lone surviving intercessor just ran. He advanced, but he advanced backwards, because that's a thing you can do. So the Inceptors weren't as useful as it had been hoped, but the Redemptor kind of redeemed itself there. Very lucky the Rhino exploded, mind you. So now we're going to move on to Death Guard turn 3. End of Death Guard turn 3, and you could safely say it was a mixed bag, starting with something horrific happening in the Psychic phase. The Demon Prince moved up here, wanted to cast Smite, rolled double 1s, which is a Pearls, opted to use a command point in order to reroll one of the 1s to try and avoid that, turned into a 1. So he takes D3 wounds. He took 3, he had 3 left, and if a Psyker dies to Pearls of the Warp, they get sucked into a Nightmare Portal, which does D3 mortal wounds to everything within 6 inches. Disgusting resilient, saved the Plague Marines from it. The Intercessors, 1 died, 1 took a wound, but of course the Demon Prince murderized himself, which is a little unfortunate. In the shooting phase, the Plague Marines were not able to hurt the Intercessors at all. The Bloat Drone, since it can fly, did a hop over to there, fired his Plague Spears at the scouts, didn't manage to do anything, and then failed a charge as well. Didn't take anything on Overwatch, but failed a charge despite also using a command point to try and reroll to make it happen. Zombies advanced, not as far as before because the Bellman is dead. Over the other side of the table, the Demon Prince with the suppurating plate, he moved up, he cast Smite on the surviving Intercessor Marine, and only did 1 wound, leaving the Intercessor with 1 surviving wound. However, he is dead. The Hellbrute, who could just about see him, he did confer a cover save, but used the multi-melta, took out the Intercessor, so that squad of Intercessors is dead, the ones that had the Stalker Bolters. Over here, the Plague Burst Crawler pivoted rather than moving, so he was shooting his full ballistic skill this turn. The Crawler zoomed all the way along here to try and protect the Plaguecaster, who did get his Psychic powers off and was a bit risky, cast both of them, got them both. The Plague Marines here also advanced. Shooting, the Crawler managed to take out 1 of the squad of Intercessors, put 1 wound on another. To make sure they died, Plague Burst Crawler opted to shoot every other gun into them just to make sure it happened. They are dead, the other squad is untouched, and waiting to retaliate as we go into Ultramarines turn 3. End of Ultramarines turn 3, and let's start over this side of the table for a change. The Hellblasters overcharged and split their fire. The 3 that could see the Demon Prince fired at him, were unable to get through the suppurating plate and disgustingly resilient and all that. Didn't kill themselves or anything, but also did no damage to him. This side, the 2 that could not see him opted instead to fire into the drone that we'll cover in detail in a second. One managed to explodinate himself, the other one did the final wounds required. The Hurricane Bolters of the Centurion Devastators fired into the Poxwalkers. Sorry, Games Workshop. Killed 3 of them over there, opted to make them happen at the back so they can still keep pushing forwards. The Grav Amps and Grav Cannons fired at the drone, did most of the damage. I believe it left it with 3 wounds, which were then finished off by the Hellblasters. Marneus Calgar was in position to charge to finish it off if need be. Now he's kind of just standing there in the open, not really giving his buff to anybody, so bit of a mistake there perhaps. The Intercessors only managed to kill 1 Plague Marine, opted to use the Redemptor, fire everything at the Plague Marines here just to make sure they died, and they did. So that is them gone. Let's see, what else? In order, the only chance the Inceptors had to survive was to get into combat. So they shot into the Blight Crawler, did nothing, then did their crushing charge. In hand-to-hand combat, they got it down to, trying to read that, is it 4? Yes, 4 wounds remaining. In return, the Crawler did 1 wound back to this Inceptor. They're still in combat. Oh, last thing. Snipers once again fired at the HQ of the Death Guard. The Plaguecaster managed to take out that final wound, so he is dead. That is Slay the Warlord for the Ultramarine side as well. Not looking good for the Death Guard, but let's see if they can come back on turn 4. End of Death Guard turn 4, getting pretty quick with the turns now. The Plague Burst Crawler fell back so it couldn't shoot, but it let everything else shoot. The other squad of Plague Marines moved up and fired into the Inceptors rather. Plague Burst Crawler moved up, fired its Rat Volley Gun and Entropy Cannons at the Inceptors, opted to fire the actual big cannon itself at... who was that? That was the... I think it was Calgar, because he was the closest model, enemy model. I don't actually know, I think it was the Scouts, because it was originally going to be Calgar, Scouts were closer, it had to be them. Either way, 2 Inceptors dead, final remaining one, he passed morale but he's on 1 surviving wound. If he goes down, the Ultramarines, it doesn't look likely they'll get Line Breaker for the end. The zombies moved up, opted to charge Calgar. They're a bit spaced out more than they should be, it's to avoid wobbly model syndrome because of the scenery they're on here. Lost one on the way in from Overwatch. In combat they didn't touch Calgar. He killed 3 of them. They're just trying to keep him tied up long enough that the Demon Prince with the separating plate can hopefully do good things. First of all, he cast Smite in the Psychic phase. Killed 2 of the Hell Blasters with that. And then he did... Actually, I just realised one of them should still have 1 wound because I keep forgetting they have 2 wounds each. So never mind. He's on 1 wound. This poor gentleman here. Let's get a dice there. There. So he killed 1. Then he spewed on the Scouts, killed 4 of them. He charged the Sergeant. Yeah, the Sergeant got a hit on him in Overwatch on the way in, didn't hurt him though. In combat, as you might expect, utterly annihilated him. He did get to strike back thanks to the banner being there, but didn't do anything. So the Scouts are dead. 1 Hellblaster dead, not 2. As we move into Space Marines, turn 4. End of Ultramarines turn 4 and a very successful turn for them with the other Demon Prince exposed. Everybody in this vicinity, the Lieutenant, the Ancient, the Devastator Centurions did most of the work. Their Gravamps just ripped them apart. In fact, the Redemptor was being held back in case it needed to finish the job on the Prince. It didn't. The Gravamps did everything, some combined fire here. He did go down, he is dead. Leaving the Redemptor to overcharge. I haven't really been mentioning, but the Hellblasters and the Redemptor, they've pretty much been overcharging every single turn because, well, the Redemptor's always been within 6 of Marneus, letting him reroll any misses, making it very unlikely that he wounds himself. That said, he did actually wound himself this turn because he rolled a 1 followed by a 1 on a reroll. So he's down to 8, but that's probably not going to matter in the grand scheme of things. The Hellblasters... I don't actually remember if they fired now. I don't think they needed to, because the Redemptor took out the Hellbrute. The Craze Roll did not go off either, so the Hellbrute is also dead. The overcharged Macro Plasma Incinerator, whatever it's called, just ripped him apart. Didn't even need to use the Gatling Cannon. Didn't get around to doing that because he died prior. In combat here, Marneus killed 3 more zombies. There are 4 remaining holding him there, not that it particularly matters necessarily. To try and be safe in combat, the surviving Intercessor with 1 wound charged the Crawler again, didn't get killed on Overwatch, didn't do any damage to him in combat, got killed by him in combat, so he is now gone. We're going to move into the final turn of the game. We're not going to roll to see if it goes beyond turn 5, because we're pretty much at the end here. Let us see what happens on the Death Guard's final turn. End of the final Death Guard turn, and they really suffered as a result of it being no mercy as the mission, I feel, rather than having objectives on the map and whatnot that they could sit on and guard, leaving the Ultramarines to basically just be able to do a Tau gunline strategy that worked out for them. Getting lucky in some places, but not others. The Plague Marines moved up and shot at the Hellblasters. The Mortar Plague Burst Crawler, is that the one? I keep on confusing the vehicle names because they're so obtuse. Fired its 2 entropic cannons and rat volley at the Hellblasters. The mortar fired at the Ancient just to try and get a unit kill. Whiffed with absolutely everything. He had moved, so that didn't help, but yeah, totally unscathed. The Crawler moved back a little bit to try and deny a kill. Shot his missiles at the Hellblaster, also missed. In combat, the Poxwalkers did nothing to Marneus. Marneus hit back and killed 2 of them, two surviving, and that's it. That was all they could do. Now we move on to Ultramarines turn 5, I think. Did we lose track of a turn in there? No, that was... We're up to turn 5, the final turn of the game. End of the 5th turn for the Ultramarines and the final turn of the game. Their goal here really was just to try and mop up any last minute points. Marneus obviously easily defeated the last 2 Poxwalkers, wiping them out. The combined fire of the Redemptor, 2 of the Centurions that could kind of see clearly, and overcharging Hellblasters all shot into the Plague Burst Crawler in order to try and kill it. It survived with 3 wounds, I think it was. Yeah, 3 wounds. So it did not die, but that is going to be where we call the game. Now it's time to add up the points. So after the game, here's what the death pile looks like for the Death Guard. They lost their Hellbrute, they lost the Poxwalkers, they lost their drone, they lost a squad of Plague Marines, they lost their Blightbringer, they lost both Demon Princes, they lost the Plaguecaster, so that's 5, 6, 7, 8, plus a bonus one for being the Warlord for 9, and they got First Blood, which brings them to 10. And on the upside down Christmas tray we have the Space Marine dead pile. They lost 1 full squad of Intercessors, they lost the Scouts, they lost both squads of Inceptors, and then other than that we just have a couple of Hellblasters and 1 Intercessor Marine. No side had Linebreaker. Ultramarines got First Blood and Slay the Warlord. Marneus is obviously still alive, so Death Guard did not get that, so the Death Guard only got 4 points. So 10 to 4, that means this Ultramarine list stays on. We'll play against 1500 points of a different army next time. They did well. Marneus giving all rerolls to a 6-inch bubble, combined with Lieutenants giving rerolls of 1 on wounds, just meant you could overcharge everything, which is pretty ridiculous. That, coupled with it being just the kill everything mission rather than having to move around a lot, it just let the Hellblasters and the Redemptor just kind of rip everything apart, combined with the Centurions as well. Death Guard got a bit unlucky with the draw there. Plague Burst Crawler was fun. They did well. The Demon Prince would have helped if one hadn't obliterated himself and sucked himself into the warp. These things happen. It was also... We expected the Demon Prince with the separating plate to be a bigger target early on, which is why the Plaguecaster was the Warlord. Didn't expect the Scouts to be so useful. It was thanks to the Scouts that it died. They were just a desperate pick to make it a battalion selection as opposed to a patrol for extra command points. On the subject of command points, basically just used a bunch of them for re-rolling critical rolls. There is obviously a lot of options you can do with stratagems that cost between 1 and 3 points, command points to use. If you have any particular suggestions of ones to keep in mind, please do tell me, because there's a lot of them from the rulebook, from the codexes, etc. Knocked my camera. You let me know what you think is best, and hopefully we'll see some more 40k battle reports as a semi-regular thing on the channel now. Please do show your support if you do want to see more, and also hopefully down the line we'll see some Batman miniature game battle reports as well. Thank you very much for watching though, please do show your support, and I will see you next time. Ta-ta for now.